Good evening. Welcome to Alfred Hitch Black Presents. Some of y'all are real too young to know about that. Them old Alfred Hitchcock joints where they would show his side profile. And he had a real, he's like me. This is why I bang with Alfred Hitchcock. Because Alfred Hitchcock had a real fat head and a real squishy neck. And they would show him from the side and they would play this music. Bloom, blom, 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 blom. Plum, 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 plum. And there would be these Alfred Hitchcock Presents tales, right? And these joints was always crazy. So that's what we doing. Alfred Hitch Black. That's what we doing, ladies and gentlemen. Cross-examine. Kirk Kennedy. Strizzy Strack the Wolverine.
Yes, sir.
What's good, baby?
What up, though?
You know how it is, man. We back. We got a lot of stuff going on. We apologize for the delay. But anyway, no more delay. Just check out the new style I display. Now you gotta be fresh. The Rock Wit. And y'all know about it. I don't even, man. Y'all not ready for that game show. Let me tell you right now. That game show, ain't nobody beat me on the game show, but I'm actually the host. I'm not playing. So I'm just telling y'all right now. That game show is no joke. I'm looking forward to doing that, man. We appreciate y'all.
Are you getting any takers on that joint?
I got people hitting me like, bro, let me get in on that game show. So I'm good because we're gonna be, I'm still like, because to do this, right, I don't think you this is what I'm realizing, right? To do a game show, I got to make sure that there's an endless amount of questions.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of questions.
There's got to be a lot of questions. Right? So I got to make sure that there's no repeat questions, with 20 episodes in, if we make it that far. I'm not assuming we're going to make 20 episodes in. Let's just say we make it episode. That's it. We got to see what's popping. So, you know what I'm saying? Brandon on the check-in. Brandon checking in the block. Alfred Hitchcock drop top notch player haters going to stop this instant. Rappers too persistent. That's what I'm talking about, man. He trying to be in the game show. That's one that wants to be on the game show. Shouts to the homie Brandon. Good to be here with you, brother.
What up, Brandon? What's going on?
Yeah. What is looking like? You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, back to the grill again.
Everybody share this drink, man. Share this. Subscribe.
Yes, man. If you're watching this, if you're watching it, back to the grill again. Back to the grill again. Back to the grill again. The grill again. Make sure you share this, man. Go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching, appreciate you. Like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, appreciate you watching. Jump on YouTube real quick. Like and subscribe. Yes. Even if you never come back, just come back and do that for us, man. We got to get the algorithm. We haven't been like real. I mean, me and Strack, we're not as dedicated to, we like doing this, the YouTube stuff, the live stuff, but we're not as dedicated to it as other people. So I see people like doing crazy.
They put work in.
Put work in. They be putting in work. Like off the, I put in work. I work. Like a doctor. Y'all, I'm telling y'all don't know about that Cool Mo D. Oh man, y'all don't know about the Cool Mo, the D. Brandon might though. We gonna see though. Noah might. We gonna see when the game show kicks in. But we back to the grill again, ladies and gentlemen. We back to the grill again. This is season 4, episode 15.
Yes.
And we are glad to be here with you all. Thank you for coming and watching the show. That's how we do it, too. Remember back in the day when hip hop used to be like that? It'd be like this.
The ill video.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? Hey, yo, no, Bo knows this. What? And Bo knows that. And that hands was all in your face like this. Look, I got y'all thinking y'all in a tunnel right now. Here we go, yo. I might do my next music video like this.
Remember the Mason Diddy joint that looked like they was inside of a cheese grater?
Yeah,
remember that joint? Was wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. We back to the grill again. That's what we doing, baby. That's what we doing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're excited, man. We got you know what's coming up, man. You know what's coming up.
What's coming up?
Now the Super Bowl is coming up, but we got to deal with the reality of the halftime show.
Yes.
The halftime show.
Snoop bought Death Row Records. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Ain't that wild?
You know what? So it's wild. It is wild, but here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. Death Row, it's cool that he got it, but it's so far away from when they was popping.
I
Like,
know, but they all the royalties though and all of
yeah,
that. I mean,
yeah.
fam,
Nah. I mean, in that sense,
it's a big move.
yeah. In that sense, that's the joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah,
for him, for Snoop.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad for him.
Yeah, that's a piece of hip hop
It's a big deal.
like legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like Death Row Records was one of those labels that just held it down for a minute.
Yeah. So I just think
I mean, Pac, Snoop, Dre, Dog Pound, like they had, you know,
now he
Dash,
had if
Abrupt.
anybody has besides Dr. Dre, if anybody has the rights to own Death Row, he does. And so I'm
For
excited
sure.
for him that he's on that Death Row. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So it should be interesting, man. The halftime
Yeah.
show we got. You know what I'm saying? What's good, Vic? What's good? What's good?
What up? What up? What up?
Centurion with the fish islands. He talking about that. That's what he know about that. With the fish islands.
It's that throwbacks.
And you have Buster Rhymes as I combine all the juice from the mind. Heal up, will up, bring it back, come rewind. Powerful impact. Boom. You know, we from all that. We get all that. All right, we got Kyle Manning, the demonic halftime show. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I hear
my.
you, brother. Demonic.
It might be.
It could be. Yeah, well, I haven't seen it yet. It could be. Could be. I mean, shoot, you could say demonic. There's a lot of demonic going on in the Christian circles. If you ask Thistle,
I mean, that's what he was saying. That's what he was saying.
We're gonna come back to that. I don't want to hurt y'all too much. But I, you know, despite what this guy is, what Kyle said, I'm looking forward to the halftime show. You know what I'm saying? Like
sure.
And this show will help you understand why. What's good, Vision, baby? It's my homie.
What I
Vision.
do?
Vision, you guys see me. I got something for me, you and Strack. I'm about to send y'all something crazy. Holla at me, baby. You just talk to me. I got something. We about to do something together. Nice.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all that. Vision checking in. So this is a halftime show. I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm looking forward to watching it. Because now, why are you looking forward to watching it?
Dre's production. Yeah, and plus I want to see hip hop like show up on a halftime show. You know what I'm saying? And do it well. Like, is this gonna be the first time that like it's strictly hip hop on a halftime show?
Like this, I probably, bro. I mean, I'm sure there were other times that rap artists.
Yeah, artists would come out like Jay-Z with Beyonce. You know
right.
what I mean? But
this is different though. Yeah. This is like you bringing out Dre, Kendrick, everybody. Then the word on the street is there's supposed to be a new song by Kendrick that drops before the Super Bowl. That would be something.
That would
I know Kendrick hasn't dropped since 2017. I'm interested to hear what he's coming.
Has it been that long?
Hey, yeah, it's been that long. Damn was his last album. That was 2017.
Wow,
it's been that
crazy.
Long. He should have put Asian at the end of that joint. Damn Nation, that joint would have been right. But I mean, but so I'm excited to see you have Mary J on there. You know, she gonna come in with that family affair joint, right? Let's get it jumping, She gonna come in with that dun 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 dun. You know she gonna come like that.
Yeah, that joint's tough.
That's gonna be interesting. So
definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I want to see what they do. I mean, I'm a fan of the art form, and you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm not. This is just me, and this might be where the homie Kyle is. I'm not one of those people that think, oh, because I mean, in all honesty, if we, you know, it's interesting for me. Let's just dive in this pool for a minute. Okay. One of the things, and I appreciate this, brother. And everyone's conviction is personal. As long as he doesn't try to impose his conviction on others and say, well, that's demonic. No, that's the Romans 14 issue. It's not. I don't think we can just say that's demonic and you can't listen to that carte blanche, right?
He just did, though. Prove him wrong. He just did.
The show's gonna prove him wrong in a second. We're gonna get into that towards the later on in the episode. We're gonna talk.
Word up.
But the reason why I'm saying that is because where do you draw the line then? Like, why is it just hip hop is demonic? But what movies do you watch? Mm-hmm. What products do you support? Like, there's a lot of products who are made by Procter and Gamble who for a long time supported the Church of Satan.
Right.
Like where do we draw the line of stuff like that? And that's the problem that I have. So that's why I think for some people,
is there a line drawn by the Lord?
Right. Huh?
Did the Lord draw a line? That's a question you should ask yourself when you start drawing lines.
Yeah.
Is this a line that is supported by the Lord?
Mm-hmm. And most things we could say probably not.
Right.
I mean, look, so, and I think in the culture that we live in, I mean, the scriptures do make it clear, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. Like, we all watch movies that do not have as their primary source of content the glorification of Jesus, right?
Sometimes the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite, and you watch them and you like them. You know what I'm saying? You can get into those shows. I can watch a show about the street life because I come from that, and I can watch that and be like, wow, Lord, I remember being in that situation. Yeah. But like a lot of us do that. Like and I feel like when it comes to, this is what the show is going to deal with. So we're not there yet, but his comments are setting it up. When it comes to like rap music, which people, I think I'm not saying this brother is, I'm not saying he is, Kyle. I'm saying that people can get very sanctimonious.
Yeah, for sure.
As if like only thing that you watch, listen to is nothing but God glorifying. No, you don't. No, you don't. You support products that support the very, one of the things that I remember back when politics was in. And again, I'm not into politics in terms of, oh, this is my party, right? But I remember some brothers were talking about like voting a particular way, voting Democrat, or this is demonic. And I understand why they say that. I understand why they say that. I think Republicans are just, they riding with Satan too, right? They riding. If the Democrats are riding shotgun, Republicans in the back seat, you know what I'm saying, behind the driver's side.
Yeah, they're not too far.
They're not too far. But one of the things that I remember thinking was like, fam, you telling people like, if you vote this way, you're supporting abortion and stuff like that. Get it. I totally get it. Totally get where you're coming from. But you support companies. You're on a platform that supports the very thing that you say you shouldn't stand by, right? You're on Facebook promoting this, and Facebook promotes and agrees with all that. You can't use the platform if like, what's the standard? Like, if it doesn't glorify God, then man, you're not going to be able to do much else at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have to consider that the sanctification process for everyone is different. You know, we're at different levels of sanctification and growth with the Lord. So somebody might be super zealous and be like, yo, I got to get rid of all my hip hop music because it cusses and it does all this stuff. Word. That's,
and I would stand by that.
Yeah, that zealousness is great. Like we love that. You know what I mean? If you remain that way the rest of your life,
I would stand by
the Lord.
And I know some people that like that.
Right. But the sanctification process is different for each individual.
Right.
You know, we grow differently towards the Lord. I mean, that's real rap.
And that's the beauty of something like a Romans 14, right? That's the beauty of it, because Romans 14 is basically saying, look, who are you to judge another man's servant, right? One man thinks one day is holy, another thing. That was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
He said one man thinks one day is holy, the other thinks something else. Who are you to judge this person, right? Then that doesn't mean like there's no standard. That's not what we're saying. But I think that, like, as you said, man, conviction is a moving target. It's a growing. It's moving in a way, and I think there are levels of maturity. When something is outright sinful, it's just sinful. Like I don't think you ever can get mature enough to watch pornography. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know, no, I'm mature enough, man. I don't get turned on at all, man. I'm just chilling, and I appreciate the art form and the. Nah, fam, you appreciate the position. This is the like what you talking about,
right?
Like we get that, right? Let's be stop playing. But there are things that don't do that. Don't have that type of impact. They aren't in and of itself. Oh wow, if I would watch this with Jesus. I remember someone made that standard. Would you watch it if Jesus was sitting beside you?
Yeah, that's.
I was like, fam, I wouldn't do nothing if Jesus was sitting beside me, but listen to him. What you talking about? I wouldn't even want to eat a ham sandwich. Making a sandwich would be sinful. You know what I'm saying?
I'd be like, Jesus, you got some bread for me?
Yeah, man, like Jesus.
I don't want that ham sandwich. I want whatever you got. You know what I'm saying?
We out of Miracle Whip. Do you think you can? You know what I'm saying? And I can tell you right now, we will always be out of Miracle Whip in my house because I never. It's going back to the wrath and grace.
Yeah, Miracle Whip is nasty though. It's not
mayonnaise is nasty. I don't care.
Different.
Mayonnaise is the devil's lotion.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
Stick to Miracle Whip. It's nasty.
All that stuff is nasty to me, man. All of it. So having said that, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, what they do, and seeing how that all plays out.
Word.
Well, Super Bowl. Looking forward to the Super Bowl, even though I have no stake in the game. I don't really care who wins, right? I don't really care who wins. So in that sense,
it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch.
It'll be fun to watch, though. It'll be cool to watch. So,
speaking of the Rams, did you see that movie with Kurt Warner yet? The Kurt
No,
Warner joint?
No.
American Underdog?
No, I haven't.
Thumbs up, fam. 2 thumbs up.
Really?
Real rap. Yeah, it's a dope flick. Dope flick.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Covers his life well, and even big ups the Lord. Like, he's evidently a Christian in the film. Like, you could tell. There's no,
Wow. Yeah. I heard that.
There's some issues, here and there in the beginning. It's questionable. Some things here and there, but whatever. He goes before the Lord like he needs him, and in his times of need, he was going before the Lord. And it was evident in the film. So it was cool. It was cool to watch. It was just his life story too, so it was dope.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl. I mean, that dude was like, was he working at like a grocery store?
Grocery store, yeah.
When he came on the Rams, and then they won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, married a woman with 2 children. One of them was disabled, and he loved them like his own kids.
Wow,
they became his kids.
Yeah.
Then they had 5 more kids. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was fun watching. It was inspiring, actually. It was very inspiring to watch it and see how someone, can have a goal, a dream, if you will.
Yeah.
And keep fighting and pushing to do it, but yet realize what really matters in the process. The Lord was gracious enough to show him what really mattered in life.
Yeah.
Prior to even receiving the goal.
Right.
It was like, whoa, this is what really matters. And then achievement came, and it was cool. It was dope.
Yeah. Now you know what?
Jerker.
Yeah, I bet. Sounds like it. I mean, stories of redemption are always going to be
always,
like that, right?
Always, yeah.
I think those stories of redemption, especially because as believers, we're people drawn to redemption, right?
Right. Yeah.
Those stories, and so
for sure.
So I appreciate something like that. Like that's encouraging to see that.
Yeah.
Now here's where I would agree on some level with Eric, who was, specifically talking about death row music and it being Satan music, and it's a little off, but I know you heard Pusha T, his new song Diet Coke. You heard that joint?
Oh yeah.
So first of all, let's talk about this on 2 different levels, right? Let's talk about it just hip hop.
Okay.
And just what you think of it as a hip hop, a person who hip hop head, someone who loves the art form.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? And then we'll go to the next level of the content and sort of what we think about. So just as a
hip hop fan,
as a hip hop fan,
as a hip hop fan, as somebody who appreciates the art form, man, I mean, I think Pusha T just keeps getting better.
You think so?
Like, I think so. I think so. I think, and the beat, of course, was bananas.
The beat was crazy.
And the way he switched up so many styles on the beat, as he was rapping, like I just enjoyed the song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even though some of the stuff he said was a little, I was like, dang, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think one point he said, you know what? That might not have been him. That might have been J. Cole. So I'm going to stop with that one real quick.
Look at you.
But I know he said something on there that triggered me real quick that I was like, why you have to say that? But overall, as a hip hop fan, it's a crazy song, man. And it was comedic in a sense too, the video, because you watching Kanye act a fool like Diddy used to do back in the day.
Right, just dancing.
But he's rocking some crazy rain boots, black rain boots, because it made me think, yo, this dude really got people out here paying crazy money for whatever he says is hot.
That's crazy.
Whatever he says is hot. Cats is like, yep, I want those. I mean, I went to
hundreds of dollars, bro.
Yeah, I went to a family party the other day, and it was a gender reveal joint. There was somebody there, and they was rocking like the Fat Joe boots.
Really?
Fam, they was rocking them like
yesterday's price is not today's price boots, huh?
Very similar to the Fat Joe boots. I know they had to be on some Ye type stuff because I'm like, dang, that's crazy. But listen, that's what dudes think is hot now because Ye said it's hot.
Yeah.
Real rap. And they paying the money for it.
Yeah, man.
I can't do it, man. Unless they got some comfortable Yeezy slides on discount, I can't do it. Like,
I just ain't doing them just because they Yeezy slides, though. I just ain't
the
doing
slides, I put them on my foot, and they are crazy comfortable.
Yeah,
so that's about the only thing I probably would rock because they look pretty basic. They look like you can get them at Walmart.
Okay, yeah. I'm not really into like Yeezys, man. You'll never see me in no Yeezys.
Yeah, some of them Jones look like they belong like on like an alien film. You know what I'm saying?
They do look like you called Lunar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Them joints should be called the Lunars. So with the Pusha T song, me, right? So like the beat was crazy. Like I love just that's just the thing that you know you're gonna get with Pusha T is good production. Like you know you're gonna get a beat that's fire that you like.
Right.
You know that, right? You're gonna get that. The issue that I had with it, like I think Pusha T personally is overrated. I've
Really?
never really, yeah, I think he is overrated. I think he's respected because he comes from an era of lyricism, and at that time, the clips they were okay, but they were really just a part of a larger collective of artistry coming out of Virginia.
Have you listened to any of Pusha's like albums, his new joints?
Oh, Daytona.
Yeah.
I listen to all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I listen to all of them.
You think he's overrated?
I think he's overrated. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me say this now. Maybe not, because no one's like saying, "Oh, he's that dude. He's in that top 5." That
right.
Maybe not overrated. I'm not drawn to his flow. I'll just say that.
I got you.
Like I mean, I can listen to it, and it's like okay, it's very predictable to me. It's very predictable.
Really?
To me. His flow, yeah, it's very predictable. Monotone voice, all of that stuff, right? I like a little bit more variation. I like to be a little bit surprised, a little bit more inflection in some things. He come with the same kind of joint for the most part, right? And it's just me. I mean, this is me. I'm allowed to think what I think, right?
Everybody, it's just interesting hearing you hear it that way.
Yeah. Like so no, I'm not saying this. All, that's how I hear him.
Yeah, got you.
In general, that doesn't mean I've never liked any of his songs.
But this, so you're not just talking about this song.
I'm talking about him as an artist, right?
Got you.
This song, I like the beat. Funny the video watching Kanye do all of that. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem I had with this song was that I feel like Pusha T is every bit of late 40s, mid to late 40s. It's the same thing I felt about Havoc and Styles P's joint.
Okay.
It's like you 40 something years old, Pusha T. Mm-hmm. I know you watching the live stream. Let me talk to you for a minute, fam. Because nobody else might. Drake is the only one that may have told you this. So let me say this. Why are you talking about selling coke, pushing coke, cocaine? Why are you talking about that?
It makes no sense.
When you know you don't do that. And the story and it's already come out that y'all wasn't really going like y'all wasn't that heavy in the streets like that. Why are you still talking about this, fam? And that's the problem that I have, right? And this leads me to a larger problem where I can listen to like what we would call secular hip hop because I'm from the genre, the culture. But depending on the content, at some point it just becomes, fam, why are you talking about violence? And really, this is where I think Kyle is right. Demonic things, right? Now, well, let me say this. They're demonic because they're not believers, right? I don't judge non-believers according to Christianity. I don't judge it. So I expect them to talk like that, right? So I'm not saying, I'm just thinking of it. We're just talking as grown men right now. I'm not talking about, you're not a believer. I'm not expecting you to say things outside of it. I'm expecting you to rap based on the cultural dynamic and the framework that you're getting at. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think my concern is that like you are talking about things that even just as a grown man, one, I don't think you're doing, number one. Okay. Number two, why is that so cool in the Black community? Like that's the demonic part to me, right? That's the demonic part. Why is it that hip hop, and I get there's going to be divisions of that, right? There's demonic white boy music too. So let's not act like hip hop is the only, there's demonic every kind of music, right? But why is there this sense of like, you're in your 40s, man, rap about like persevering through the different trials and tribulations of life and getting married and becoming somebody and establishing some hope within the community that you want to buy your music. Like, why are you maintaining? Because if no one shifts that culture, then you just not going. And I'm sorry, CHH is not going to reach that culture. I remember back when I was doing concerts when Thistle. We'll get to this in a second. But when Thistle was doing his interview with Ruslan, right? And Thistle talked about being behind the scenes and seeing a lot of stuff, and he definitely was behind the scenes more than me. He was giving more notoriety than I was. But I was behind the scenes too in a lot of things. And, I remember dudes used to be like, they rapping for Jesus. Like, yo, fam, I'm doing this for Jesus and I'm trying to reach the world. but all of your concerts was in front of church.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't have a window into the world. You know, Lecrae sort of had a window, but then he kind of became like the world on some level, which he, I think, in many ways would acknowledge. So,
well, I mean, it is. We should point out, because I'm one of them. There was a lot of us just pulling up on the street with a truck,
right,
and spitting
just
a whole album into the streets. You know what I'm saying?
But you weren't invited into the circle of that though. So you were doing that as missionaries. That was missiology for
facts, you. For sure.
100. So I'm not talking about missiology. I'm talking about welcomed into the community. Let's hear what you got to say. Mm-hmm. You know, like hip hop is not the Areopagus where they want to hear your perspective. If it's Christ, they want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's become a little bit more open because there are Christians who profess to be Christians that are being embraced as artists, right?
Got you.
But what the thing that bothers me is this idea that that they have to talk in these. This is where it's demonic to me. So just this evil sort of like there's only thing you can talk about is harm, right? Only thing you can talk about. I'm talking about secular rap, these artists like Pusha T, right. Diet Coke. You know, we know what that means with his history. You talking about cocaine? Like, why are you still talking about that? You've been the CEO for good music so that's what I'm saying. Like, why the need to entertain that and make music, and then you're gonna turn around and talk about these young kids in the street, you know, that they dine and want, but then you making music that promotes the very thing that they doing that you singing, and that's the problem I have.
I mean, to your credit of saying that he's overrated, he's just not creative enough.
Right.
I mean, I think they lack creativity when that's what they do, unless they're just blatant pragmatists who rock with only what works. And it seems like that's what works still, you know, even though that's what he's been doing for however long he's been doing it. But dang, you still talking about just selling coke?
Yeah. He's speaking to his core fan base who buys that nonsense, 100%. But I would say this, brother, these people are not believers. Like 2 Timothy 2:25 and 26 says, look, the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, right? But able to I'm paraphrasing now, but able to win his opponents, because the Lord may grant them repentance since they have been taken captive to do the devil's will. Like, your salvation, Kyle, is not because of something you did, fam. Like, you're not special. Like, if you saved it because God chose you and gave you the light. So just pipe down a little bit, because we're talking about people who just they don't have that grace that you have. So of course the Bible says that they've been taken care. Of course they're going to buy that stuff and do that. That's we get that on a spiritual level. Like, we don't need that. We understand that. Like, we get it. Right. My salvation is not because, I figured it out and look at me and now I'm judging everybody else. Like, don't be that Pharisee in Luke 18, fam. Like, the only reason why you different than the people that buy the nonsense that you talking about is because God gave you the grace to see who he is and believe him. So pipe down. We get it, bro. Like, we're not amateurs when we talking about. Pipe down. The comment section is too filled with your negativity, fam. I get it. I get what you're saying, but we talking about things beyond just that, right? Relax, bro. These people need Jesus and need people like you and me who know him to pray for him instead of criticizing everything they do. It's like Jesus criticized the Pharisees. He criticized the religious leaders. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm reading it wrong, cool, but it's just like, relax, fam. Relax. Like, I get it. You know, I get it. You know, it's like, I get it. So it's like, this is where we at. Like, this is the culture that we live in is largely non-Christian. And the Bible says that they're taken captive by Satan. But open 2 Timothy 2:22-26. 1 Corinthians 5. Paul said, look, I don't judge the world. I'm not judging them. God judges the outsider. Right. He said, if I told you to not have anything to do with, if I was talking about the world, then you would have to be away from everybody, right?
Right.
Nah, we got to be around these people, but we're not there to be like, why y'all doing this? Why y'all doing that? Because they don't know Jesus. So of course, Pusha T's music is they're going to buy it because of that. My point is speaking less about the spiritual aspect, because I understand where they're at spiritually. I'm talking about just as a black man and a grown man, why are these hip hop artists still appealing to this? Still appealing on that level. I'm thinking like, man, you married, you got kids, you a CEO of a label, you got some money. Like, talk to these kids about how you came up. But see, that won't sell in these communities. And that's what's wild. That's the part that I'm I'm just like, that's the demonic stuff to me. Yeah. Not even just because they're not, it's anti-Christ, but it's like, fam, you killing an opportunity to speak something different. And that's where I appreciate what we do in CHH, right? I appreciate it because I think we're able to take the art form and present it in the same kind of aggression, passionate, focused on lyricism. We care about those things, focused on artistry. We care about those things. We've taken what we've learned from hip hop and said, and we're going to explain why in just a minute. So, yeah, so we went a little too far on this one. You know, I got it. You're right. I got to be the Wolverine every once in a while. I'm actually Cerebro.
Beast.
I'm Cerebro Beast. / my man called me Cerebro the other day, so I just started laughing at that. I'm actually, but there's some beast in me. I'm from that, but I get it. It's just like I'm just like, man, I get it, but it's like I'm not. I don't bash the world. You know what I'm saying? Because the world is the world because they don't know Christ. Like if they were Christians, then I'm gonna say, "What you doing, fam?" But when you don't know, I'm not gonna bash the world. I think too many believers do that. And if that's not what he was doing,
we could do a whole show about whether or not we should listen to that or not.
That's not what this show is. We're just talking about the halftime show.
Yeah. So we're just gonna keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing. All right. So let's talk about this for a second. Joe Biden's crack pipe initiative.
Crazy.
Have you read about this at all?
Yeah,
Are you hip to this?
I read the article.
Okay. So I read a few other articles, right? Right. So he who presents his case first seems right until another comes to examine it. Now, I didn't read the 75-page document. So let me just say that. I didn't read it. I did read other articles that it broke down what this initiative is about. And it's not altogether accurate to say that Joe Biden is giving out crack pipes and endorsing it. That's a little disingenuous. And I'm well, there's a lot I want to say.
I don't think it was clear, even the article I read. Like,
well, I don't know what you read. Which article did you read?
The link you got right here on the treatment
from the Miami Herald.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was very clear. I mean, they spoke to me. It was very clear what it is. It's so here's what it is. They're giving out these smoking kits, right? And within these kits, they contain alcohol swabs, lip balm, and other materials to promote hygiene and reduce the transmission of diseases like HIV and hepatitis, right? So their point is, these people are using drugs. We can't stop them. We're not stopping. The war on drugs is a sham on one level. That's a different episode. Listen to The Rug from Serial Killer Smiling Pictures, by the way, right? But the point that they're saying is that, like, look, we're trying to give out hygiene things in these kits to people who we know use these drugs. And it's not just crack, it's just meth, a lot of people, right? From what I can tell, the statement that they're giving out crack pipes for racial equity started by a couple of conservative politicians. I've read this now on a few different sites. Okay.
That's messed up.
That's messed up.
Yeah, if it's not true, that's messed up.
It's way messed up, right? Right. It's way messed up. So I'm not endorsing what Joe Biden is doing at all. I think he's one of the worst presidents ever, right? I just think politics right now is just, I don't think Trump was a good president. It's all in just what you're conservative. It's just all on what you vote for, right? What you care about in terms of values. Here's the thing I want to bring up though about this. There's a greater concern that I have for this reality, because this is what I think happened. And all that I've read, I do think that conservatives put this out there. And I saw Christians, believers, tweeting this and saying this, influential, that Joe Biden, and they put in quotations, did it for racial equity. Okay? That's what they were saying. So they're mocking. So it's not just Joe Biden. Now it's racial equity, all that stuff, right? So here's a concern that I have. I think it's the Democrats are doing a terrible job. I think across the board. Kamala Harris has the lowest, or Kamala, I think that's her name, Kamala, has the lowest rating of a vice president at this point in the history of VPs. I could be wrong, but that was the last stat that I saw.
Is she still around?
Yeah, she's alive. Okay. She's alive and on staff at the White House. Okay. But she's not, people don't like her, right? So she went from being this Ruby, the girl Ruby Ridge, the girl who was integrated into from the Brown versus Board of Education. She went from that to like, no one likes this woman, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason she's wasn't in the running for president.
100%. I think bringing her in was a hustle move, right? No question. So I think the Republicans are going to win the next election. I think it's just, they're going to win. But here's the problem that I see. The next racial explosion is going to happen in 2024. And it's not going to be the media showing a black dude get killed by a white police officer. We have gotten to a point in the political culture that we're in, and it's so racialized. It started to begin with Mike Brown, but it really blew up with George Floyd's death, right? Mm-hmm. More bigger than Amy Cooper, even though Amy Cooper was the real story. Amy Cooper, the one who told that other dude, I forgot his last name was Cooper as well, that she was going to call the police and say a black man was harassing her. That was the story of 2020 to me, because that revealed a deeper pathology that they never got to. But George Floyd was obviously the worldwide story. And ever since then, it became whatever you think about George Floyd's death and what people did after it, kind of defines your politics. It really defines your politics. And now I don't think we're realizing how racialized.
Defined your morality as well. For me.
Yeah. From people's perspective, obviously it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. But that's how people saw it.
For sure.
I think where we're at now politically, and things have calmed down because there's nothing to vote for. There's no new we just got to ride the wave until the next election. But when conservatives are doing stuff like this, connecting it to racial equity, and then you got Christians who are influential promoting the narrative as if it's that. You realizing that, wow, the racial dynamic is now going to be used and weaponized in the next election. So let's just say, for example, at this point, if you vote conservative at this point, I think the racial narrative of politics has moved beyond just Donald Trump. Now, if he runs again, it's going to be really chaotic.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
But if Donald Trump,
he might be like 90 soon.
We got to I'm tired of these old dudes. I don't care if you white, black. Why are you, man, this is we need to do an episode on this. Why does Congress get to be in it their whole life?
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi is running again. Run away. Run away. Sure. You've been in there for decades. Like, why do they get to be there for that long? And then you mad at Putin because he's been in there for 20, 30 years. You got these people. Anyway, rabbit trail.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Look, there's a squirrel. That's what Norm said. There's a squirrel. Right? Forget that. My concern is more this. I don't think we realize how racialized politics are. And I'm talking about believers. Believers are following this stuff because we live in the world. We do not, for the most part, think about eternity. Our hearts, our minds are not set above. Colossians is not even on the radar right now. It's about politics, and it's always flesh and blood. It's the Democrats, it's the liberals, it's the progressives, it's the conservatives, it's this, right? So at this point, what I think we're going to see is that if you vote Republican, you support white supremacy, right? And if you vote Democrat, you're woke and you support socialism and false racial narratives. And that's going to be a challenge because many Christians are going to vote based on things that have nothing to do with those things. I know people that voted both Democrat and Republican. And both of them did it with some level of trepidation, some level of disgust, but they had deeper reasons why. I think Trump's going to run. What'd you say?
I said I think you got stuck.
No, I think I got a lot on my mind. You know that.
For sure, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think Trump is going to run again, and I think it's the racial narrative is going to come back. So if you're black and you vote conservative, you are selling out, right? You've been whitewashed. If you're white, then you support white supremacy, right? That's what's going to happen.
So you think it'll be worse 2024?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think so. Because I think now it's ingrained. Like Trump is considered a white supremacist now.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's considered a white supremacist. And I don't think Trump's a white supremacist, actually. I just think he's just a jerk, right? I just think he's just he's just an evil dude. I don't think, I mean, the fact that someone was like, well, he ain't had sex with no black women. So what does that mean?
Right. Like, you want that to happen?
What does that mean? What you want, the sex tape? Like, what does that even mean, right?
That's so weird.
Oh my gosh.
No, I would have busted out laughing out of her.
Oh, I don't even understand it. But I think what's going to happen is a racial explosion. I think it's here now. I think the what happened in the last 2 election cycles has been established.
Yeah.
Right? It's been established. And I think what we're going to see happen is a racial explosion when people vote. And because conservatives are doing this racial equity thing, they're getting their people to believe these narratives that go forward and attack anyone who does care. Listen, this is a problem. Like, it's not sin to care about racial narratives. Like, if America is truly the greatest country in the world, and as even many conservatives, remember when we did the thing with Voti, right?
Right.
There was this big hubbub about how much America has done to change the landscape, that we're the only nation that ended slavery or the West to Europe, that did it because of our faith in Christ, all these different things, right? All that stuff. There's all of this stuff. But the problem with that is we compare ourselves to the world, and we gain a moral high ground because of that comparison. But we're still a mess. Like, if that's true about America, then why, if some people care about racial equity, why is that such an evil thing then? Like, why does that, why is that so bad? Like, if this is what America has truly been about, and we've done this thing, but we can all look and see, like, hey, we haven't arrived in any of these things yet, right? This is the most utopia, we talked about this before, the most utopia America's ever been. Like, I wouldn't want to be black in any other time in American history than right now.
I don't think I'd want to be born.
Exactly. It may get better in the future, but I'm talking about up to this point.
Right.
I wouldn't want to be born in any other time in American history as a black person, black man.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's the freest we've been, all of it.
Yeah.
And it's still terrible, right? So on one level, Christians should be like, if this is the utopia of the world, look how much division and anger and hatred there is. You've ended relationships with other believers that you had for years,
right, over
racial narratives. Like, why is it such a big deal? And that's the problem. I see this coming. This Joe Biden crack pipe thing is just another brick in the belt that they're going to use later. This was the guy that had, for racial equity, was willing to give people crack pipe. It's going to happen.
I mean, it's easy to do that when you have the history with his son. You know, like the same people probably ran with the son comments, you know, when his son had images of him with a crack pipe, you know. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what... listen, I get it. That stuff should be talked about. It should be dealt with. Like the president's son is a crackhead. I mean, that's a big deal. But I don't think it should have been joked about the way it was. And I think this was kind of done in poor taste as well.
I think so. I mean, but it definitely was, because you know what? Crack is largely associated with being black. The real epidemic is the opioid crisis. That's largely a white drug that's smashing people across the Midwest. I mean, we had, you know, there's somebody on this who's on the live now. But she understands that.
Yeah, it's not.
Kira understands that, coming from that world, that struggle of he understands. She understands like what it's like to be addicted to drugs and things like that. She, you know, she's put that out there. So to me, it's like, man, there's a lot going on with this stuff. This isn't about a white or black thing, but once you make it a racial equity thing, it's like you're basically saying that that's what it was about, when, in all honesty, you know, you got meth and opioids, and some of these things are huge epidemics too, though. You know, so this is going to blow up, bro. This is not, we have not seen the end of this. And I don't even mean the crack pipe narrative associated with Joe Biden, from what you said, his son to now this initiative, right? I'm sure that some mean-spirited conservative is probably going to call it I forgot his son's name, Hunter Biden initiative or something like that. They're going to make it. But my point is that the Democrats are setting themselves up to lose in 2024. And if Trump is running, it's going to be, if you vote from, well, I think it doesn't matter who it is, because whoever runs as a conservative, I think, is going to carry the wave. You're not going to come in and come different. They want you to be in the spirit of Trump, which was to destroy the Democrats, right? And you're not going to destroy the Democrats. That's just not realistic. So what are you actually destroying? You're destroying the viewpoint that people have of these people. You're not going to destroy the conservatives as a functioning entity, right? You're not going to destroy. We live in a two-party system. Yeah, unless you're going to just blow everything up and it's going to be socialism, which you're fighting against, right? So you're not going to destroy. So when you say we're going to destroy, you're destroying the way we perceive these people. And Christians live in the world. So, and we were largely affected by people. I remember people being like, if anyone votes for Donald Trump, I have to unfriend you. I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, that was definitely said. The lines were drawn.
Lines were drawn.
That goes back to me, where are the lines that the Lord drew? You know what I'm saying? That's where we got to start.
Yeah, man. So I think we're in for it. We're in for it. And all they're doing is just blaming each other. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
Everyone just blames each other. Blame it on the rain. Where is Milli Vanilli when we need him? Blame it on the rain. I wish we could play the song, but everything now you can't. You play anything, man. They'll hit you,
cut you.
They'll cut you. They'll demonetize you. They'll edit it out to be a blank space. I don't even know if we could sing the joint. But so we got blame it on the rain, right? This is the reality. This is the culture that we live in now. Yes. It is the complaint campaign, the blame game. Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So who's the blame for this scenario? Right? It's just like let's blame everyone. And that's what I see happening with the most recent conversation about CHH. All right. So recently, everyone knows the two most popular stories in CHH in the last month are negative, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Gavi, producer for Reach Records, fired for sexual misconduct, so forth, right? Which he should have been. I get it. It happens. I get that it happens, and there are consequences for that. So Gavi's gone. That's a huge story. Everyone's talking about it. This dude, Ruslan did the interview, talked about it. I thought he had actually a good perspective. So you got Gavi has that, right? You got Brady Goodwin, right? Former Cross Movement member, walks away from the faith, right? Mm-hmm. Then you got guys like Eshawn Burgundy some years back and a few other guys like that, right? They're Black Hebrew Israelites, all this stuff, sort of pushing back against these things, right? Then if you want to even attach like Lecrae and those guys, right, in their position. Most of the press about CHH has been negative. The last couple years, for real. There's been some good stories, but this is a vastly different change from like 2000 to 2010, right?
For sure.
That was when it was like, yo, we're out here, we're doing it. It was growing. The movement was growing. People were loving it. The white evangelical church, particularly the Reformed church, embraced it. All this stuff, right? The second half from 2010 to now, let's say 2011, right? 2011 down, it's become a largely, there's been success stories and good things. It's not all negative, but the more notable stories have been negative.
For sure.
They've been negative.
It's in the limelight.
And most recently that's happened. So as this happened, a few things I noticed. I saw some different things floating around. So Hazakim, Tone Stallone, Tony from Hazakim did the episode, the season 1 with me on Cross Examine. We started it together. I got in touch with him Asked him was he up for it, and we did it, and we did season 1, and then Strizzo, Strack took over season 2 until this very moment, and it's our show. You know what I'm saying? But Hazakim. I don't really know who writes these things for them because they have the same. So it's Hazakim.
I think somebody might have said Mike.
It's mostly Mike though. I think Mike is the one who's been the mouthpiece mostly, from what I understand. But I think he took the post down because I tried to find it, but it basically was critical of CHH. Right now, it's not up, so don't at me like, oh, you misquoted him. I don't remember what he said.
I mean, I tried to pretty much what it was.
Go ahead. Why don't you tell it? Why don't you say?
Yeah, basically, Brady's situation is the embodiment of you know why CHH is death. CHH is dead. You know, so it's basically Brady's situation. If we're a metaphor, an allegory, whatever the case may be, for the death of CHH.
Right.
You know, I think it was the embodiment was the word he used.
Yeah. So that's what they said. Right. Mm-hmm. And Peter was a lot of comments on it. And I think they eventually took the post down. I wish they had left it up. Huh?
A lot of back and forth.
A lot of back and forth. I wish they would have left it up. All right. And then after that, I saw another guy, Mike Verse Mills. He basically put out something on Facebook. And, you know, initially it was basically similar to that. It was similar to what they said.
And he's been saying it for years, the CHH is dead.
Which was ironic because he was with Josh Crease, I think, at one point. And they were doing music together and all of that, right? So I've seen this floating around, this narrative.
They probably say that they've been saying that since back then.
They might have been saying that. And I think at some point during his post, he was just trying to say he wished it CHH. But what I was getting at is like, wow, why is CHH to blame for this? And then Thistle recently makes a video on his Instagram, I think. I don't follow him. Twitter. Mm-hmm. And that video, he said it kind of went viral. I don't follow his stuff on social media. I've never been like a Thistle fan, so I don't really follow him. But I know he had some popularity, and so he has a voice that people will listen to. So he basically says, you know, I've been behind the scenes, and I never seen Jesus. Behind the scenes. He said, I seen Jesus on stage. I've heard him in songs, but I've never really seen him behind the scenes.
Yeah, he said there was a few occasions, and he named a couple people that, you know, that he said they did show Christ, and he used that to come at Reformed theology and all that. But
yeah, right.
Or people who would have claimed Reformed, not that he came at Reformed theology, but
people who would have claimed Reformed,
who were claimed to be Reformed at that time.
Now, what that means is people who claim to be Reformed are typically supposed to be the godlier ones because we're supposed to have the better theology. So that's how people kind of come after it, right? That's what people think. So he did that. And so there's been a lot of this stuff happening and CHH gets to blame on it. The culture gets to blame. So what Thistle said was the reason why he made his post was because he felt like the OGs were getting the blame.
Yeah.
Right? They were getting the blame. Like, man, like Fanatic, these guys weren't discipled well, and these people were blaming like the guys who've been in the game for a long time. Now, I've been in the game too, but I didn't have that notoriety. But I'm a low-key OG. But these guys are getting the blame, so he came out and wanted to say, no, that's not the case and all of that. My bigger concern was this sounded, if it's been feeling like sort of a G. Craig Lewis-esque sort of aura, where let's blame CHH. So it's CHH's fault that, or CHH, and I think with Hazakim and them, it was the move towards social justice stuff.
Right.
Is and what led.
Just for context sake, G. Craig Lewis was the leader of X Ministries back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. He was coming hard at the church to not listen or do anything to have anything to do with hip hop.
Right.
So that affected a lot of Christian hip hop heads back then, you know, in a major way.
It did. No, it did. I remember dudes. I remember one time being in Philly and I was doing music full time. I had, because I was in a predominantly white church, mega church called Covenant Life, which had like Josh Harris, who wrote like Kiss Dating Goodbye, TJ Mahaney. So I was in a church with notoriety in the country. And so for whatever reason, I was getting concerts. I was getting booked getting flown around. DJ Essence, who started Lamp Mode, used to be one of my DJs. we were flying all over the place. And so we were doing it full time because money was there. And I remember me and Shy having a conversation in downtown Philly. I think he was working at the post office back then. He was working somewhere. I thought it was post office, but I could be wrong. And he was like, man, I'll never do music. He said, you do music full time? And I was like, yeah. He said, man, I'll never do music full time. Because at that time, me and Flame, we all were hanging out at Philly for some reason. It may have been when Piff planted. It may have been that.
Mecca.
Yeah, it may have been when that happened, and we were all hanging out in different places afterwards. But it was only So I remember, so only a few of us were doing it full time. It was like, I'll never do it full time. I'll never do that, because they weren't getting a lot of opportunities outside of the black church, and the black church was like, they was flunking people though. Yeah. They give you a love offering, $150 maybe. You come out there, sweat it out, do a concert, rock the, and then you get love off.
Listen, my squad I used to run with back in the early 2000s, we got played mad times.
Crazy.
Man. Oh, yeah, we going to have this, that many, this, that, and show up and there's nothing.
It'd be 27 people there.
Yeah, mad time.
Stuff like that. They didn't know how to promote and all of that stuff. Right?
For sure.
So then the music blew up. So there was this understanding that the culture is, and what they're critiquing is black secular musical culture that as rap, and then people that come out of that culture who agree with that culture that are now saved, essentially was like, we don't bang with this. But then eventually it got notoriety. But now there's this sort of aura that it's secular, it's CHH's fault. This idea that the culture. So you got guys like Dayton who are constantly pushing back, like, nah, fam, CHH ain't dead. We out here, right? We here and all that. And I appreciate that. Appreciate them.
Yep.
I feel like the accusation doesn't stand up even biblically. That's my concern. Like Brady walking away, or Gavi falling in sin, or Lecrae, or whoever you want to highlight, I don't think you can blame the culture of CHH. I have a problem with that. I don't think it stands up biblically for a couple of reasons. The first reason I don't think it stands up biblically is, hold on, I gotta put this up, bro. Lil Vicious.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, I ain't laughing at you, Obi, but man,
we are. Funny.
I only had maybe in one event like this. I did an event that was hyped up, and there was only 8 people, including me and Wifey.
Fam, I did an event where the sound system wasn't working, and they knew it before I showed up, and they put the mic to a stereo.
Wow.
Come on, dog. A CD player. I just rocked it a cappella, fam.
You know what's wild to me? So when I came out, I used to go on the Holy Culture Radio was the thing back then.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
And there were Bammers that didn't bang with me, and I understood because I did a rap album for a white suburban, middle to upper class, family of churches, and I didn't even know that you could even spit and be like the way with the same aggression and all of it. I thought you got to be humble, and so I kind of did like a Linkin Park type of rap album, so they wasn't banging with it, right? On HCR, Holy Culture Radio. But what funny thing is I was getting booked for shows. I was performing at Creation Fest and stuff, and all of their favorite artists wasn't getting no shine.
Right.
So it was really weird to me, right? I was the first one to rap at Piper's Church and blow the whole thing. It was so weird to me, right? It was just interesting. But I always respected the culture. I come from the hip hop culture and so forth. And I feel like when we make statements like, oh, it's CHH's fault, we're making statements about hip hop as a culture. That's why I said it sort of has a aura of this to me. And I don't think it stands up biblically for a few reasons. And one of them, let me explain what one of them is right now. 1 Corinthians 7:17. Here's what Paul says. Let each one live. I'm reading, I use the CSB translation. Here's what Paul says. Let each one live his life in the situation the Lord assigned when God called him. This is what I command in all the churches, right? So he says, let each one live his life in the same way that God did, right? It was all of that. And the reason why this is important is because, when you see Levi was a Zacchaeus, tax collector, right? Zacchaeus is up in the tree. He comes down and he says, Jesus says, let me stay at your house. And then Zacchaeus says, look, I'm going to give back, give away half of what I owe, and pay whoever I've defrauded back 4 times the amount, right?
Right.
Jesus says, salvation has come to this man's house today. He's the son of Abraham. You know what Jesus doesn't say to him? Stop being a tax collector.
Right.
Doesn't say that. The only person he said stop being a tax collector was Matthew, because Matthew was a disciple. Levi, right? He became a disciple. You get the Roman centurion in Acts 10. He doesn't stop being a Roman centurion if, you know, he has faith in Jesus. You get the Philippian jailer in Acts 16, right? Where this dude takes Paul and Barnabas out of the cell. The cells were flung open. They were singing hymns. He thinks everyone escaped, and so he's about to kill himself. Right. Paul says, don't do that. We're still here. We didn't go anywhere. He says, what must I do to be saved? You must believe in Jesus Christ.
Yo, that had to be so dope, man.
That was that scene is ridiculous.
Can you imagine Paul hearing him say that? Right. What must I do to be saved? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Bro.
That's so dope.
That joint's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the Philippian jailer takes Paul and then back to his house. Mm-hmm. He preaches the gospel to the family. They believe, get baptized. He washes their wounds, and then you know what he does after that? He takes them right back to prison. Yeah. He's never told to not be a prison guard. Now, I see this happening in the culture. You're supposed to not be sinful in that culture, but you're supposed to be within that culture. Mm-hmm. So if you get saved as someone who loves hip hop, you're an artist, you rap. I know that was me. I was trying to get a record deal secular. You get saved, right? That culture now becomes the mission field for you. Now, there are some cultures where you might have to leave that thing. Like if you're working in the porno industry.
Right.
You might, depending on what you do in that industry, you might be like, I got to leave. But if you're like working in the administration office where you're not looking at movies and seeing things, you might all of a sudden start preaching the gospel to people there. Now, I think most people in that industry should probably leave. So that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is not like if you work in that industry, stay there. Right. What I'm saying is God doesn't call us away from every culture just because he saved us within that culture. And we bring some of those same dynamics that we got from that culture to help redeem it. Yeah. Because the Bible is about restoration, right? It's the restoration of all things, not the removal of all things.
Right.
And so this idea that it's the culture of hip hop's fault, or CHH even, it's like, nah, not really. There's a lot of good about CHH. Mm-hmm. And I think when people critique it, they're critiquing a certain kind of they want a certain style of CHH back. They want it when it was,
more theological,
yeah. Talking doctrines and stuff. And it's just like, that was a season. Mm-hmm. That was a season. You know, what's funny? Every one of us, if we all will look back at certain times in our lives and realize that was for a season, like that's not who we are anymore. Like this is what we did. All of us, whether it's in our marriages, with our children, in our churches, whatever we do, there's going to be things that my church, I've been the lead pastor at Solid Rock Church since October 2014. Been a pastor there since July 1st, 2008. It's almost 14 years I've been a pastor there. I've been the lead pastor the last 7.5 years. My church has drastically changed from the day I took over as lead pastor to this very moment. Still people there. Some people are still there. Lots changed. Makeup, dynamics, a lot of things have changed, right? We all have things in our lives that are for a season and all of that. And we have to look at ourselves in that way. Because God is about restoring these things, not about the removal. So when you get people that come out of a culture, you don't always have to leave that culture because it's sinful. If you were a tax collector, that was a sinful thing. The Jews hated tax collectors because they were largely immoral. They were largely corrupt. Mm-hmm. Jesus could have easily said, fam, you gotta leave being a tax collector. The only time Jesus really said you gotta leave is with the rich young ruler. Right. One thing you lack. sell everything you have, and then come.
That's an important piece that you point out, is the public perception of a thing as well. You know, a thing that you do. You know, for example, when you said about the tax collector, the public perception of the tax collector was that they were thieves.
100%.
You know, they would steal, they would add on to get money to pocket more for themselves, right? Hence Zacchaeus and why he did what he did. But even like if you use an example like boxing or MMA, the public perception of it is going to affect, you know, how people view the individuals who do it. You know what I'm saying?
100.
So if somebody's an MMA fighter, you have a perception of that individual. They're a tough guy. They're fighters. Or a female. They're tough. They're fighters. They got no problem punching you in the face. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, if they got saved, right? If they're Christians, and maybe they're Christians and they pursued that career, are you willing to say that, you know, they're evil because they're doing this sport that they're not convicted of the same way you may be about? You know, tactically punching somebody in the face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's real rap. Like, you got to deal with that public perception as well. Sometimes things are made taboo that aren't actually taboo.
Right. Which is very important.
Very
important. And the reason why I'm concerned about it among believers, this blaming on the rain, is because when you think about what blame does really two things. It really makes it about, blame is moral high ground. Like basically it's them. Like it's standing in judgment of other people, right? So it's their fault. And when some of these people say it, first of all, Hazakim was a part of CHH.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The dude Mike Verse Mills was part of CHH, right?
I think they would still consider themselves a part of CHH.
I think they would too. I think they would too.
Yeah.
And their point was more about he walked away
for sure
because of the social justice stuff. So I don't want to make it seem like they're really going after CHH as a culture. Them brothers love CHH and they are very vastly undervalued in the CHH movement. And we would consider ourselves brothers of them in that sense, and fellow vastly underrated, right? Vastly.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But the concern is that a lot of it, when it comes out, it's a self-righteous moral high ground thing. Like, oh, look, see, I told you, look at this. And it's like, well, it's always more complicated than that, right? So that's one side of it. It comes off the Luke 18, like, look, this is to be honest with you, man, all of us can fall in serious sin, man. Like, we act like that we're 100% in control of our destinies and how we care. It's like, nah, we fight, we persevere to the end, but you don't know if you're going to persevere to the end until you take your last breath.
Right.
And that's why it says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Like, when you start blaming, oh, look at these, or start mocking people who fall into sin, you're basically saying you don't do that. You're not going to do that. And the only thing that's true of you is you haven't done that yet. But you have no clue. Like, you got to still fight and persevere. And until you make it to the end, we got to walk with humility in that sense, right? So that's one side of it. The other part of why this blame game is dangerous for believers is because you're basically accusing people, right? Blame is to basically accuse someone else, something else. Revelation 12:7 calls Satan the accuser of the brethren. It says the accuser of the brethren has been thrown out of heaven. So it associates blame with being satanic. Now, granted, and I think that's partly why the Bible says, look, don't accuse an elder unless you have 2 or 3 witnesses. Like, so we're not saying there's no room for accusation or concern, but when you start blaming people and you start playing that game, it's basically more satanic than it is godly. Like, you're accusing your brothers. And it's like, and in a self-righteous way, acting like, well, I ain't do that. Like, look at what they do. Man, we don't know what you do, though. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, Lecrae, you know, regardless of what you think about Lecrae, the thing about being popular is that your strengths and weaknesses are for everybody to see. So there's a lot of people, like, you're not popular. I'm not popular, right? Right. No one sees you yell at your wife or go through a time of struggle. No one sees it being difficult for you to be patient with your children.
Because
we don't see that. Huh?
No one's looking.
No one's looking.
Public is not looking. Yeah.
No one sees that, right? But we get to see these people. And sometimes they bring it on themselves. Like Brady could have walked away, but to his credit, Brady said, look, part of the reason why I'm making the video is because I sent a letter to my church and other people were calling me about it that weren't in my church.
Yeah.
So I think Shy sent it to told his Patreon supporters. And so of course that stuff is going to get around, right?
Right, for sure. Yeah.
So that's one of the main concerns that I have. And it's like, with Christianity, man, Christianity is not about how moral we are. Mm-hmm. Christianity is about how moral he is.
Right.
Right. Like our entrance into the eternal kingdom is not based on how moral we are. Sure, we love Jesus, we obey his commandments. So it's not amoral, where there's no morality in Christianity.
Right.
That's not true at all. But it's motivated by his morality, his righteousness.
Yeah, it is no longer I who live, but Christ who
lives in me. And so we're living in that reality. So when I see this happening, we act as if like, man, listen, fam, like, first of all, some of our weaknesses aren't put out there in the public. Some of our struggles with faith aren't put out there in the public. We don't know what you struggle with. So we have to be careful on that front. When we start blaming cultures and blaming, if anything, it's like, you know what, Lord? I don't have I can judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, but I want to reserve at least, 1 Timothy 5, it says, some men's sins are waiting them at the judgment, and others will be revealed in due time, right? In other words, there's a lot going on that you don't see and don't know. So that's one of the main concerns that I have.
Real quick, I have a thought that I want to try to flesh out, but it's I wonder how much of this is involved or involves a neglecting of the gathering. You know what I'm saying? The fellowshipping of the saints. Like, where's the local body involved? I know the local body was involved with Brady. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know there was involvement there because I'm familiar with his body, the body he was involved with. I know them. Mm-hmm. But with things like Garvey or the blame game, you know what I'm saying? Like CHH isn't what it used to be, and I wonder though, why is it that why are we not allowing the local church to do what the local church does? Like before we just jump the gun and start verbalizing, like if these are public figures that, have more clout than we got and more influence publicly than we got on social media, wherever else the case may be, we're obviously going to see their mess more. Their mess is like you're talking about. But man, shouldn't the church be seeing they mess before anyone else does? You know what I'm saying? The local church. I know it can be funny. Sometimes cats can hide stuff and be sneaky, but if there's constant fellowship, it's kind of hard to hide those situations, these types of scenarios.
Yeah, it's much harder to hide it.
It's much harder. You got brothers and sisters around you. You got your pastors who, assuming it's a healthy church, assuming the pastor is involved the way they should be.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why we as the body, rather than jumping so quick to point things out. Now I'm not saying we shouldn't point things out. When people say or do things, we should address them. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But we got to watch how we do it in our posture that we take, because we should be dependent upon the Lord ultimately, but also the local church, which the Lord has planted in different places for people to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And if these people are claiming they're Christians, we're to assume that they're a part of a local church, or I think the avenue would be find out if they are. And who is that local church?
But I think this is a great point you're bringing up. I think you're getting at a deeper problem. Mm-hmm. So in 2013, I made a song called "Is Lecrae Jesus," and it came out on. I recorded it. I went to the studio, and the dude didn't know what he was doing, so it was like really badly sonically recorded. But I just wanted to put it out, so I threw it on Rapzilla. This is back when I had hope for Rapzilla. And so the song came out under their like singles of the week or whatever, and a lot of people liked it. And the point of the song was, is Lecrae the problem, or is the idolatry of Lecrae the problem? And that's what I was getting at. And I think, first of all, like Lecrae is not Jesus. Like,
word.
I'm not putting my confidence in Lecrae and expecting him to do all this stuff and then judging him when he doesn't. Like, he's not he's not Jesus. And so, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I think you're getting at a deeper issue. I think what God is exposing, I think we always pay attention to the forest and not the tree, right? I think God isn't exposing the weakness of Lecrae or Garvey or Brady or whoever. He's exposing the idolatry of those around him, right? So what happens is, what you get is these artists in many ways are seen. I remember one time having I won't say who these people are, but I remember rebuking or pushing back against artists. There, some of your favorite artists doing concert with them going to people's churches and like critiquing the churches and critiquing the theology and almost carrying themselves like they were pastors. And there was a point. So this is where I
saw it happen firsthand. I saw it happen firsthand.
100%.
And it wasn't that in this situation, it wasn't that the person was wrong in what they were saying. It was the posture and how they did it and what they did.
But it was also like, well, why would you take money from them to come to their church and then to criticize them and act like you have more authority over them than that pastor?
That's good.
Like, how dare you? Like, they brought you in here to entertain their youth or whatever, and now you're up there poo-pooing on their doctrine, and the senior pastor's there, you're making him look foolish, and you feel like you have justification to do so, but you don't. Yeah, that's one side of it.
It's kind of disrespectful.
It's disrespectful, number one, but you took their money, so why would you complain about their doctrine and take their money?
Right, right.
If I got a problem with Joel Osteen, I ain't rapping at his church.
Facts.
If it's like that, if I really feel like, oh, his doctrines, I ain't gonna rap there. Because if you think by rapping there you endorse his doctrine, then don't take his dollars, right? Yeah. But that's only one side of it. The other side of it that I saw was there was treating rappers like rappers actually thought that they were functional elders because we would make these 3.5 minute, 4-minute sermons. People would be like, oh man, I love your music. It's like a sermon in one song in 4 minutes. And people saw rappers as if they were elders. And there were a lot of artists that almost carried themselves like, I'm a biblically ordained elder. Nah, fam, you rap and people like your music. And then if you step back to a broader thing, what I also saw in the culture was people would be drawn to and love another pastor like a John Piper or Kevin DeYoung or
YouTube pastor.
Yeah, like or just podcast. People that you go to conferences. Like when you go to conferences, what do you go to conferences for, right? There were many, but I want to go hear such and such teach. I want to hear D.A. Carson. I want to hear this person. I want to hear this person. I want to hear Eric Mason. And then what happens is these people would love this pastor and be drawn to his words more than their own pastor. This pastor, you cannot, even if you go up afterwards. I remember this one dude waited in a long line to meet John Piper. And I didn't know, I was new to this stuff, so I didn't really know who he really was. I just saw this dude was freaking out. Oh man, you changed my life and all this stuff. And that's cool. I mean, that's fine. But I was like, wow, bro, I've never seen you say that to the pastors in our church. Like, I've never seen you do that. And it's like, John Piper is not going to pray for you. You can't text him, call him, and ask him. You can't set up a counseling session with him. He's not going to be the guy that cares about you. It's the pastor at your church. The dude that doesn't have the popularity, doesn't have the books, but he's there for you. And so when I see all of this, for me, I don't think God was exposing CHH and Lecrae and whoever you want to point out. I think God is making a statement about how easily we create golden calves, how easily we worship people because they're just talented. In the same way Peter and them thought if you were rich, it was a sign of God's blessing. This is why they said, well, who then can be saved if the rich can't be? It's right. Also, I think in the same way, we have viewed what I call, the popularity, right? What do I call platform epistemology, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
If you have a platform, then you have all wisdom from the Lord. And it's like, nah, fam. And so I think that was a much bigger issue back in those days, bro. And I think it still happens today in many ways. I think that's still something that's there.
It definitely happens. I mean, with people, celebrities getting saved or proclaiming faith.
Right. We be freaking out. Oh man.
Right away, man. Yeah. Right away.
And again, we celebrate conversion, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We celebrate conversion, but we wait for conviction.
Yeah, but the conversion and the celebration is about a soul not suffering the wrath of God.
Right. That's from what we can see, right? Yeah.
That's what we celebrate.
Yeah, we're not saying this yeah.
No, I mean, we think, this person, more than likely because of the profession of faith, unless they leave the faith, they're now going to be saved from the wrath of God. That's what we celebrate. That's what we
celebrate, yeah.
I want not to suffer the wrath of God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, ultimately, we're celebrating God's mercy towards this person.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
We're actually celebrating God, though, more so than them, right? We're glad for them. We're excited for them, but we're celebrating God.
Soli Deo Gloria. Mercy.
Yeah, but we also want to see people persevere.
Definitely.
I'm not like, so people go, oh, what about Kanye? He was, hey, listen, man, there's a parable of the sower. I don't know if what seed he is. He might have been Mark 4. He might have been the one that landed on the rock, sprouted up, and then withers when trouble comes because of the word. I don't know.
See.
We'll see. We celebrate that. But so look, there's a squirrel. So let's bring this back, right? The couple things I want to talk about, because if the critique is of CHH culture and the musical expression and the music changing, I just want to say a couple things, right? And these aren't directly related, but I just want to mention these because I think sometimes we don't think about these things in a helpful way. Like, let's talk about like music. Like, I think music, there's a lot of discussion about what music glorifies God or not. And it's really interesting to me because Ephesians talks about sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. We don't know what spiritual songs are, right? We don't know. We know whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do all to the glory of God. Right. But there are people who there's stuff like called the regulative principle of worship, where it's clear that people feel like this is what the Bible says you have to sing. Yeah. I vastly disagree with that. Now, I'm fine if you want to create a dynamic that this is what we sing and why we sing. But when you say the Bible says this, I totally disagree. I do not. I've looked at this stuff and it was like, fam, this is conjecture. Yeah. This is just you. So you mean to tell me that the hymns that we sing are the same hymns that Jesus? We don't know what hymns they were singing back then. We don't know what hymns.
But the Psalms is what would be sung.
We would have been, but every psalm wasn't called a hymn. Right. They sung the psalms or they sung the prayers, right? But we don't know which we don't know what that was. We don't know what a spiritual song is. If it was the psalms only, then Paul would have said sing the psalms.
But I think with the regulative principle of worship, it's singing the psalms only.
Right. Yeah, it is that. Right. Yeah. I would disagree with that as a biblical.
That in their minds would be safety. It would be like being safe in singing unto the Lord solely what he has prescribed unto us to sing. And that's what their mindsets would be.
But the Psalms were songs that Israelites sang. It's never prescribed that we sing those, though. Never. As a matter of fact, I would say, and feel free to disagree.
I don't think it's prescribed that we sing those only.
Yeah,
but I think it's prescribed that we sing them. I think we could sing the Psalms, and it's good. I mean, it's good to meditate on God's word day and night. Period.
No, sure, 100%. Sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs
that are written in the scriptures, like to the choir master. Right? I mean, then why not sing them? It would be dope to sing what they sung.
So you think we're commanded to sing psalms?
No, I don't think we're commanded to only sing psalms.
So you think we're commanded to sing psalms?
I think you can make an argument. Yeah, I think you can make an argument.
I'd love to see it. I mean, I know he says sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs.
Well, only because they are songs and they're written that way, and it's to the choir master. They're like, it's like the Lord giving us songs that we can sing, And I think it's a dope way to view scripture.
I think you can do that
and walk around, but like, yo, you have to sing the songs.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about are there no songs to sing in the Bible. I mean, Exodus 15 is the first recorded song in the Bible. And that was after God brought them through the Red Sea, and Miriam led the whole congregation in a song, right? So I'm not talking about, is there songs in the Bible, right? Song of Solomon, there's some songs in that joint, I don't know if you would sing them in church.
Yeah, right. Yo, that'd be wild. Yo, fam, we would listen. I wonder if Kyle Manning would sing Song of Psalms in church. You know what I'm saying? Like, that might be on some stuff, though.
So let me tell you why I don't think that music, I think the Psalms are there, of course, right? And I think we can sing those, even though those were directly related to the Israelites. I don't know if the church, what songs they sang. I would imagine they probably did sing the Psalms, and but they did Psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. So spiritual songs is a category that's broad. So I don't know what that is. So I'm not saying we don't sing the Psalms. Yeah. I'm saying I don't see it commanded to do that, but I think we worship the Lord, right? Yeah. And song is a part of that worship. Definitely. But I think if it, I don't think the Bible is that clear, and I think one of the reasons why it's not that clear is because the origin of music, that through humanity's sake, is kind of wild, right? Mm-hmm. So you figure Cain kills Abel, and then they have Seth, right? So Cain becomes this wicked line. Seth is born. But when God establishes music, he establishes through the wicked line of Cain. So you read Genesis 4, right? 17 to 20, it says, look, Cain was intimate with his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. Then Cain became the builder of the city, and he named the city Enoch after his son. Irad was born to Enoch. Irad fathered Mehujael. Mehujael fathered Methuselah. Oh, I'm going to skip all that, right? And it said, because that's not the point I'm trying to make. So then it gets down to 21. It says his brother was named Jubal, right? He was the first of all who played the lyre and the flute. And Zillah bore Tubal-Cain, who made all kinds of bronze and iron tools, right? So what you have is the origin of music, humanly speaking, comes through the wicked line of Cain. Doesn't come through Seth, right? It comes through Cain. So that's a crazy thing for people to be so dogmatic about which cultural expression. You have God allowing music to come through people who largely are not making songs to his glory. I mean, the line of Cain was not one that we are aware of. That was one that was redeemed and that loved the Lord. These were people whom God allowed musical expression and instruments to come from a family line that disobeyed him, that didn't love him. I mean, all these stories, Lamech took 2 wives for himself, kills 2 dudes, all this stuff, right? But we're supposed to pretend like, oh, this is a real strict thing. It's like, well, the music that God knows is going to be the primary way we think of worship, he allows to come through the wicked line of Cain. He could have had it come through Seth, and Seth obviously became the line that leads to, all this stuff. So that's one thought that I have. Another thought that I have was this. The Egyptians are in Egypt for 400 years. They're essentially, the Israelites, they're basically Egyptians because they don't have a culture yet. They don't have anything yet. They've been slaves. They know that they're different because they lived in the land of Goshen. And then eventually as they grew, they knew who they were, separated by land, and who the Egyptians were. Right? So Israel spends 400 years basically eating the food of the Egyptians, worshiping, as far as we know, worshiping the God of the Egyptians, all these things. Moses shows up and tells them, I am, saves them. And then they meet with the elders of Israel. And then Moses probably tells them, look, the God of our, Abraham. And they're like, oh man, but there's no culture yet apart from them just being slaves. Mm-hmm. Remember when they complained in the wilderness, it was like, man, we had them good meat pots and all that, man. Right. You brought us out here to die. Like we was living good back then, Mo. Why are we here? They were basic. Yeah, they wanted to go back. They were Egyptians. They had been into the culture.
That was their culture. That was their culture, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So here's my question then.
For many years. For many years.
Oh, generations. That was all they knew.
Yeah, that's
they didn't know anything because the law hadn't come yet.
Was it like 400 years or 300
years? 400 years. Yeah. 400 years. The law hadn't come yet. So they didn't have an established moral code and a culture of glorifying God. They just knew, they may have loosely known that there were some promises made to the patriarch of who started. And that's why when Moses showed up, they were able to identify with that.
Right.
But it wasn't like they didn't have a culture. They weren't even commanded to do nothing to glorify God until the Passover.
That's good.
Until
that's
now, you got to put blood on the doorpost, right? So they escape by God. They get through the Red Sea. They get to the land of Canaan. They get in the wilderness, and they break out into a worship song. Exodus 15 is all a song, right? Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. They said, we used to sing this at this church I used to go to. I will sing unto the Lord, for he is triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider thrown into the sea. We used to sing that song all the time. I never knew it was Exodus 15. So I'm good with singing songs. Stop judging me, fam. But look, it says, I will sing unto the Lord. He's thrown a horse on it. The Lord is my strength. My song has become my salvation. This whole chapter is a song. Here's my question. What style of music would they most likely have sung that in?
We have no idea.
What instruments would they have used? Yes, we do. It would have been Egyptian.
A lyre. You know,
well, it would have been, but it would have been Egyptian. That's the only culture they've known. Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying I wouldn't be able to identify it right now. That's what
no. But I'm just we're looking at it, right? We're looking at the cultural context. You know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We're looking at the cultural context and saying they wouldn't have had an established musical culture that we know of because they were so tethered to Egyptians. Right. At best, some of the Ethiopians may have had their own style of it, but there wouldn't have been a style of music that belonged to them that clearly glorified God. There would not have been. They most likely, for them to be, it said the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. For them to be able to all sing a song meant that they all probably were aware of a style of worship that they had already known about from the Egyptians. Right. The song probably had Egyptian inflection, tempo, all of it, but the words were different, right? Yeah, there's no way they would have had a clearly established song for Yahweh because they weren't even his people yet. It wasn't until Exodus 20 is when you get the law. Now here's what you do.
Right.
Now here's how you live, right? So again, this idea that musical style, there's a style that glorifies God and there's ones that don't. I don't think there's a biblical case for that. I'm not saying that all music glorifies God. What I'm saying is from hip hop to country to psalms to other hymns, and then even the psalms, we don't get like a chord sheet. We have no idea what chords they sang them joints.
Right, none at all. That's what I was saying. Like what style, whatever. I would have had no idea.
Yeah. We have no idea how they sang the psalms, right?
Yeah.
So again, to me, it's just like, okay, we cannot really blame this, like cultures, particularly with music. There is no, and even some of the other things. If you look at it, Zilla bore Tubal Cain, who made all kinds of bronze and iron tools. So architecture, music, and all this comes from the wicked line of Cain. And that same skill set is used to worship God and to build the temple of God, right?
Right.
Same thing. They come from Cain. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the other thing for me. From Exodus 21 to Exodus 30, right? God is meticulous in what he wants. That whole 9 chapters is solely how to worship God. And then you get to Leviticus, and then you get to the sacrifices, and then the priestly robes and Numbers, and then it reiterates for the second generation in Numbers of Deuteronomy, right? It's nothing but what does the temple look like? How do you do this? What does the clothing of the priest look like? How do you do this? God is very specific.
Details.
I'm talking about God is the most detail-oriented ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, thing
it's so detailed that's probably the least read scripture out of the Bible.
100%
for most people.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through the law, go through Leviticus, see all the details because it's like constant,
Constant detail, bro.
Yeah.
It's specific, right? Guess what's absent from all of that?
And to a T, though.
To a T.
It's
to a
crazy.
T.
Yeah.
Fam, I'm talking about cut this a cubit length of this.
To a T.
Yeah. And add the gold trim around here.
I think that's what makes it so dope when you read it. It's like, yo, this is crazy how detailed this is.
And guess what's missing?
From the Lord directly.
Guess what's missing?
Yeah.
Music.
Style.
Music is missing. All of that detail and all of the specificity and how, God was like, don't do it like this or else. It needs to be like this. Them peoples can't come in the temple. They got to stand here. They got to do this. It needs to be this. Do this cubit length. Color this. Put blood on this side of the horn. And on the left side, put this. And then the Ark of the Covenant, put this right here. And put this over here. And it was so specific because God wanted to make sure that they knew in every minute detail how to worship Him. And music is absent. From all that meticulous design, music is absent. You will not find one credible in a credible translation specificity on musical styles that worship God. You will not. We just know that music did worship God because we talked about we have the songs.
That's right.
We know that Miriam and them did the first recorded song in the Bible, I think, would have been done in an Egyptian style. We have no clue. No clue. And God gave no specificity on musical styles. No. Because it's the heart of worship that God is after. And what musical is when you love God, the musical style that you express Him in is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Now that doesn't mean that Go ahead.
We do see certain psalms where they'll say played with the lyre, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so we have that, right?
There's certain details here and there, but there's not an exclusion of any specific style or culture, or even rhythm that would be denied, I don't think, by the Lord. I mean, we just don't see it.
I mean, how could there be when you have a scene like Revelation 7?
Right. Or make a new song, sing a new song.
Right, sing a new song. How could it be that, right? Sing a new song unto the Lord. How could there be that scene? Like, if anyone, this is the thing, and this is why when we talk about stay balanced, one of the reasons why stay balanced, people always think I mean politically. That's not what we mean. I mean stay balanced eternally. I understand that I'm living for that kingdom, but I live in this kingdom. I'm trying to stay balanced and not stay balanced is not being tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. Right. And by doctrine, I mean the doctrine of emotionalism, the doctrine of American politics, the doctrine of race relations. I'm not going to be tossed to and fro by anything. I'm going to say what I think, and I think because when I look at Revelation 7, when it talks about every tribe, every tongue, right, every nation will be around the throne worshiping Jesus.
That's right.
You cannot tell me that no one who voted Democrat will be that's going to be all Democrats or all Republicans, that everyone around that throne will be Calvinists, or that they'll be Arminian. You are a fool if you think that that's true.
And everyone around that throne is not going to be singing. No,
bro.
It's not happening, fam.
Look, to be honest with you,
there's going to be cats singing. There's going to be all kind of dancing.
Some of them songs remind me of demons. It's like, good gosh, man.
If my man says sing a new song using death metal, why not?
Man, bro.
Because the word death is in it. Death is all throughout scripture.
Bro, 100%.
The Lord used death to kill death.
But this is what I get. Like, there's no such thing as music unless people do it, though. Music is not, you can't drive up somewhere and be like, oh, that's music. Music only exists if someone makes it.
Right.
It doesn't exist without it. It's not something that you just can't go, unless it's made, or unless even an animal. If a bird is singing, a bird is singing.
Right.
There's no such thing as music, right? So when you talk about even death metal, right? It's not, death metal isn't a musical style that exists apart from someone who created it.
That's right.
So if someone gets transformed, 1 Corinthians 7, stay where you are. If you get transformed, then now you're going to use that music that you once used to disobey God to now glorify Him.
Oh, come on.
So just because you don't like death metal, listen, bro.
Yo, hold on. Kira said, I tried to listen to Orthodox chanting today. Nope. And then I put on Korn.
100%. There you go. And Korn is just listen, bro. I was at Purple Door one year. I know I told the story before. I was at Purple Door one year. And my buddy was preaching there, so he asked me to go with him. Now, Purple Door is a white music Christian festival, alternative rock though.
Right.
This joint was crazy.
I think it was out this way, wasn't it?
It's out in Pennsylvania. It was in Pennsylvania. It was one of the ski joints and ski resorts in Pennsylvania. But it was summer. It was summertime. So, man, there was this band called Me Without You. Bro, they was crazy. They looked like tall hobbits. The way they dressed and danced and run around.
I think I remember you talking about this before.
Some of the music was aight. And then they had these people called the psalmists. They looked like they were straight out of the Lords of the Rings, bro. Lord of the Rings. They had these big instruments. It was crazy. So look, I was walking around, just looking around, because I was just blown away. It wasn't that many black people there. It was one of the moments where I was like, what in the world am I doing here? So I was walking around, and then I saw this big crowd in front of a stage. So I was in the back watching. And this is what I heard. I'm trying to imitate it exactly how it sounded to me. Here's what happened. Here's what I heard. Hey, what's up, guys? We're Norma Jean, and we're ready to Jesus died on the cross. And I was like, what is happening? And people were going bonkers.
Oh, you didn't say, get behind me, Satan?
Slim. All I could hear was Jesus died and They was just, I was like, first of all, God bless his throat. Because there's no way that man is not going to need surgery after this performance. That was crazy. Straight. I don't know. And Norma Jean, I've told this to people like, oh yeah, man, we used to love her. Listen, this is why I think people get conversion wrong. You don't even understand salvation. It's not the culture that God saved. He saves the individual. Right. And you, as being saved, you come into this culture. Fix that joint. It's a little fuzzy, looking a little fuzzy right now. But you come in to God saves you, and then he doesn't tell you stop being a tax collector. So, and don't get me wrong, there are cultures where you got to get out of that thing. Right? Sure. That's just overtly. I mean, the Bible says flee sexual morality. That's why if you was working in the porno industry and you get saved, I'm up out of here, right? I get that. But the bigger point that I'm making is that the Lord, in his mercy, saves us. The cultural expressions, if we can glorify God in those, we're supposed to.
Facts.
Now, that doesn't mean like, hey, don't throw out all your CDs and don't do that. I mean, that's a conviction. Yeah. Like, look, one person thinks one day is holy, one thinks another's holy. But remember what Romans 14 is about. It's not just about difference of conviction. It's about understanding your conscience. Like, it's a weaker conscience to think, oh, you got to do, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it's like, nah, it's not an end all be all. Some people threw out every secular song album they had, and some people didn't. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I remember EC saying this, or Vision saying this. I don't know if it just, but it looked like, man, I threw all that stuff out and then re-listened to it on Pandora years later, right? Because you realize, you know what, man, in and of itself, this isn't making me sin against the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't making, there's things that you can appreciate. I can watch a movie that has nothing to do with Christ and appreciate it, right?
Now, there's some days I just can't do it. I mean,
there's some days I'm not with it.
Some days I need to be edified. I need to be lifted up in my faith.
But that's different than that's a different thing, right? There's some days I need to be edified. I get that. Mm-hmm. And there's sometimes I'll listen to like a new song will come up, like, all right, let me listen to this. As soon as I hear a couple of, I'm like, nah, I can't listen to this.
Yeah, for sure.
It happens in seconds.
Shows and movies are the same way.
All of it. It happens like, nah, man, I can't watch this joint. Never mind. But then there are times where I might watch a show because it's highlighting a particular culture, a kind of, yeah, baby. It's a particular, I'm like, wow, this is a side of life I never think about or see. This is a group of people that I never, ever see or think about. So sometimes I'll watch a show that's just like a whole different culture or way and I just learn about like, okay, wow, it's a show, but it's reflecting life, right? So, man, our comment section is popping today. We got about, I haven't even been able to look because I'm over here, right? So I'm just looking at the comment section now. I'm just like, God, this joint is all that popping.
Yeah, Cass is going in over there.
Yeah, sure. I see. But all that to say, the issue is you can't blame a culture for what an individual does in that culture, mm-hmm. right? You can't blame all the disciples because Judas went astray. Right? You just can't do it. You can't be like, oh man, y'all didn't really disciple Judas. Did Jesus not disciple Judas well?
Right.
It was like, no, you can't do it. You blame. First of all, I wouldn't blame anyone. It's like, this is this individual. They got to stand before the Lord and give an account.
Facts.
They give an account. And in that sense, I don't have anything to offer because I'm not in a moral of high ground. I'm not in a moral authority over them. You know, again, there are times where if what we did, people be acting like, man, if I was a creator, I would have said this. Yeah, right. You think you would have said that, but you're thinking like, man, if I say this, it might be misinterpreted this way, or people might do this. And then you got to figure out how am I going to say this. Everyone thinks they're going to be bold, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks they're going to be bold. All the people, I would have said this, I would have said that. Everyone thinks they're going to be bold, and you ain't shared the gospel with none of your neighbors all year. Mm. You ain't shared the gospel with nobody in your neighborhood. In fact, most of your neighborhood doesn't even know you're a Christian. But you're going to be bold when you on Sway in the morning and when you on the Breakfast Club and you're going to represent Christ. But yet you don't even share the gospel in the grocery store.
The proper posture is, Lord, help me to be bold.
Yeah.
You know, help me, Lord, please.
That's what the disciples prayed in Acts 4, right?
For sure.
They prayed for that. Lord, help us to be bold.
Yeah.
I think it's just easier to blame, but when we blame, we got to be careful, man. Yeah. We got to be careful. We're on the side of Satan. When we blame him, I mean, if Jesus said, look, if you call your brother, if you say you fool, you're liable to go to hell. Like, that's crazy, you know? So I just think, man, but what do we know? We ain't nobody. Right, we just talking on the side of our neck. What do we know? You know what I'm saying? What do we know? I know I'm getting my hair done. I need to get my hair tightened up and all that stuff. So, all that. Man, it was like we did a show, and then the comment section was on its own.
Yeah, the comments did his own show.
Yeah, Levi did leave his type, but that's not the. I didn't say. I said Levi was the only one.
Don't even do Kyle, it. Don't even do it.
I appreciate Kyle, man, because I appreciate Kyle. I appreciate his comments, man, because they people like Kyle keep you on your toes, even though a lot of what's being said is not you missing the point. It's like this.
You know what I told, or not? Nah, I told. I was watching. Me and wifey were watching the Dick Gregory documentary, which is it's dope. It's a tough documentary, by the way. Regardless how you view Dick Gregory, whatever.
Right. Most people don't even know who Dick Gregory is. They don't even know nothing about Dick Gregory.
But that's crazy that most people don't. That's bananas to me. But anyway, because he played a huge role in America. Yeah. A huge role, especially for comedians and for black people, huge role. Yeah. Anyway, he said one thing that stuck with me. He said he considered himself an agitator, and he said, remove the agitator from your laundry wash, from your laundry detergent. You know what I'm saying? Remove the agitator and see what happens. It stays dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, you need agitators. So Kyle, we appreciate you all agitators.
Yeah, today. You are our proverbial thorn in the flesh.
Word up.
Man, I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for saying all what you said, because we ain't have to. But I don't mind
stay zealous, man. Stay zealous, but also be merciful, man. Be merciful, unto those who need mercy. Like be merciful and gracious unto the weaker brother.
Yeah, because that's what happened to you. The Lord was gracious to you, bro.
Facts.
Gracious to me, all of us, man. So
man,
we appreciate y'all, man. The CHH is not the problem, and it's not the solution. It's always gonna be Christ.
And it ain't dead.
Right, and it's not dead. You know what I'm saying? If you think CHH is dead, you need to go get serial killer smiling pictures. You need to stop playing around. You know what I'm saying?
Word up.
I need them streams, baby. And then so what's up with the warm-ups, man? I'm tired of playing. The plan is back in motion.
Tomorrow night, I will have the files, and I'll definitely be putting at least 2 songs up on Bandcamp for my Bandcamp heads. And then I would be putting up the date of the actual release. If not Saturday, then definitely Monday.
So I told y'all, and I'm going to say this again because I want this to be a mark my words moment. The album is fire. And I'm not saying it because it's my man. I would just not say it if I didn't think it was fire. But Tang Su Flow and Luxurious.
I think those are the 2 we might do videos to.
Prophet.
Tang Su Flow would be a tough video. In a karate gi with a karate class,
bro. I've been that beat and that flow, that whole thing throughout the week. That joint been in my head, but I don't want to. I want to hear the right version. Yeah. I hate when it's like, all right, it's not. I want to hear the right. So I'm waiting to hear. Now I know you getting the files back. See, I don't even got that high voice no more. I should go. But that joint is tough, man. I'm looking forward for y'all to hear that, and then after that, sometime at the end of March, early April. Serial Killer Still Smiling will drop. That's the after party of Serial Killer Smiling Pictures. It was actually what Serial Killer Smiling Pictures was supposed to be. It was supposed to just be an album of like classic hip hop sound, bars and beats. And then as I was studying the topic, I just got engulfed into the topic of and the fascination of people with serial killers and violence and so forth. And then it turned into the album that you all, if you've heard it, you've heard Serial Killer Smiling Pictures. So I don't want to sit on these files for nothing. So I still got another project. It's 15 songs. It'll be Serial Killer Still Smiling. There is a couple joints I'm doing new. I got a couple joints on there for y'all. But
nice.
I think y'all gonna bang with that joint. You're gonna get Strax bars, and you're gonna hear me as you've never heard me. I'm not really a bars and punchlines rapper. That's not my thing. But I felt like before I get out of the music game, I need to have my little 444 album. You know, I need to have one project that I'm devoted to. Just I'm getting in your lane on this project. I'm getting in your lane.
I'm with it. I'm with it. My lane needs more people.
Yeah, this joint is gonna be crazy. But when y'all hear the warm ups though, the warm ups proceed, man. Tank Sue Flow. I want y'all to know, and remember when you hear it, you heard it from Big Bro.
Hey yo, get the bamboo. It's time to beat them till they stand true, till their skin turn red. That's what I'm playing to.
See that? They don't even know what's coming. Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited for y'all, man. I'm excited for y'all to hear this show. Y'all gonna
Word. Thank you, brother.
We appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for riding with us. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Hey, listen, we do this. We do it. And we're not those people. Look, we forget sometimes to say subscribe to the channel, click the like button. We don't promote our Patreon that much because honestly, we don't do as much for them as we should. But we still have faithful people who say, look, we appreciate what you do. And they give a couple dollars a month. And there's enough people that it adds up. And then we're able to try to do things and figure it out. And so if you are interested in our Patreon, support us at patreon.com/cross-examine. Yes. We would love for you to just support what we're doing, even if it's a couple dollars a month. Nothing that's going to hurt you. You spend that at Starbucks on one drink. You can get that to us and just once a month and help us to continue to build what we're doing. Subscribe and like. Also, make sure you check out hishypeman.com. Yes. You get all of the extract. Is your painting stuff? Is your artwork? Is that connected to that website?
There is a link on there to that, but it's abnersbrush.com is the painting. Okay.
So Abner's Brush to see that stuff. Yep. Well, like what you see in the background. That's that Abner's Brush right there.
Yeah. There's pieces here, there. Yep, there's pieces all over.
Abner's Brush. So go to hishypeman.com. Also, check me out at kurtkennedy.com. You'll get everything there. Music on the left side. All my social media stuff on the right side. And I'm looking forward to it. Also, for those of you that read the article, did Black evangelicals let white evangelicals say nigga? Part 2 will be dropping in a couple days, which I offer more of a solution to the problem. Some stuff you've heard me say here, some stuff I just never really got to say because of just all type of circumstances. But I'm going to explain all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Really grateful for those of you that supported that article. Man, I did not expect that. I mean, I thought, the title would pique people's interest, but the response has been crazy. Both in the amount of subscribers I got from it and the amount of views the article has been crazy. So puts a little pressure on to make sure part 2 is decent.
Word up.
So I'm looking forward to it. But we appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for riding with us. Yes. I'm Kurk Kennedy. He's Strack the Wolverine. And we are out of here.